There was a time when the big piece of chicken was reserved for the father of the home. You tune in for those in the cheap seats. There was a time when, in the black family structure, it was on the correct tilt and it was proper. Now, of course, nowadays we have a matriarchal system in place where women are the heads or leaders of the households and the men or the husbands are subservient to the women. And we know how this dynamic got changed and we know the reason for the dynamic being changed. Today I want to speak on why this dysfunction is an Achilles heel to our empowerment and us as blacks or the black community moving forward. Now, at the top, you heard me say that the big piece of chicken used to be reserved for the father because wives of those time periods understood that the men had to go out, complete a full work day schedule, and when that man came home, he needed sustenance and nutrition so he can do it all over again the preceding days. Now in the household, that dynamic has completely changed. And don't get me wrong, back then, just because the father had the big piece of chicken doesn't mean that the wife or the children were neglected or denied sustenance and nutrition. I mean, they got their fill, but everyone knew that father had to have proper nourishment to go out and bring in those resources and that financial stability to keep the household functioning. So what I'm saying is that now that dynamic is completely skewed because a lot of times in the black family household structure, the male is completely xed out of that structure. So you have a mother or a mother and her children, and there's no head of household outside of the female or the woman being the matriarchal head of the home. And so in the black community, we have this dysfunctional dynamic where the women are the leaders and the men follow suit. And what this dynamic creates is a system where the women say yay or nay and the men fall in line behind the females. Now, this system only exists primarily in the black community. Now, don't get me wrong, in the white community, they have tinges of dysfunctionality as well. But this glaring dysfunctionality of the black family structure being completely destroyed is very prevalent in the black community. And when we see this dysfunctionality, we start to understand why an educated woman like a Brittney Cooper, or I should say Dr. Brittney Cooper, will make a Twitter post where she says that if black men are not going to vote for Joe Biden, their women need to maybe withhold sex from those males until they fall in line. And this speaks volumes to what I've said over and over again, that black men are not allowed to have their own functioning thought process for their own empowerment. And this is this is exactly why the black community is so dysfunctional, because you have a group of people, and I should say women, not understanding that if your men are not empowered correctly, if your men are not empowered financially, if your men are not bringing in resources, if your men are not educated, if your men are not entrepreneurial, if your men are not building, you don't have a community. What you have is a bunch of hoods with women and children and an infestation of crime plaguing those areas. That's what you have. You don't have a community. You have a hood full of crime and dysfunctionality. And for Dr. Brittney Cooper to make that statement speaks volumes to the fact of why the black community is in such shambles today. Instead of questioning what makes black men leave the Democratic Party and want to, say, vote for someone like a Donald Trump, you want to attack the symptom and not the disease. You want to scrutinize, ostracize, and persecute black men who may deviate from the Democratic plantation without actually asking what's going on here. Because let's be frank and let's be honest, black men vote for the Democratic Party at about 87%, whereas black women vote for the Democratic Party at about 91%, almost dead even. And blacks vote for the Democratic Party in anywhere from 89 to 92% voting block. So black women, stop the nonsense. Black men also contribute to the success of the Democratic Party when it comes to winning presidential races and other local or state races. So stop this nonsense that black women make the Democratic Party, because I'll wager you this bet. Let's make this bet. If black men completely succeed from voting for the Democratic Party, that leaves the Democratic Party with a voting block for blacks, I should say black females, at about 52%. There's no way in hell they can win the presidential election with 52% of a voting block from the black community of black females. It ain't happening. They can't win with anything below an 80% turnout from the black community as a voting block in its entirety, let alone just black females. So stymie this nonsense that black women are the ones who contribute to the Democratic Party's success because of Doug Jones' win in Alabama. And I'm from Alabama, and I know that black women, yes, they went out in droves and helped put Doug Jones in office, but so did black men. Black men were also part of that coalition that got him into the Senate. So stymie and stop this nonsense that black women are the only ones in line for the Democratic Party. However, what is going on is that black men are starting to wake up and starting to realize that if you're gonna practice politics in this country, and let me say this, let me pause for just a second off that train of thought, and let me get to this train of thought. I know what's going on with the Ice Cube thing and the platinum plan with Trump. Let me say this. Black people, stop operating ass backwards. You go to other people, you go to politicians and expect them to come up with an agenda to help your community and empower you. What nonsense is this? You're supposed to come up with your agenda, put your economic power behind that agenda, go to a politician, I don't care what party it is, Democrat or Republican, go to those politicians with your agenda and with your economics behind that agenda and say, this is what we want. And if you get into office, you're going to, if we put you in the office, I should say, you're going to, in effect, push this agenda through so we can get tangibles from our effort in getting you elected into office. Not this ass backwards nonsense of going to a politician and then asking them to come up with your agenda. Of course they'll say, yeah, I'll come up with an agenda for you, and this is what it is. I don't care if it's platinum, gold, bronze, what the hell ever. They'll come up with a plan for you, and they know they don't have to actually make good on that promise of those plans that or that agenda that they came up with you, because you don't have economic force behind you or enough people coalesce behind you to punish them in elections going into the future. So in other words, I'll lie to you and say I'll push this agenda, get in office, get elected, and then not push your agenda. And then I know that you can't hold my feet to the fire if I don't push your agenda through. Because what are you going to do? You're going to get on TV, you're going to create activism, you're going to protest. You don't have any power through activism and protest. You have power through economics. And until black people learn that economics is the force that governs your agenda, then you're going to continue to go to people asking them to come up with your own agenda. Ass backwards nonsense. But let me get back to my original mode of thought on this rant for tonight. Like I said, the black community is very dysfunctional, where it's women are the leaders. It's very matriarchal. It's not patriarchal. And with that being said, you have people like Dr. Brittany Cooper, who is a staunch feminist, telling black men that if you don't fall in line and if you don't coalesce behind the democratic agenda of nothingness, then we're going to withhold sex from you. First of all, that's not going to work, because black women are addicted to sex just like black men are. Black women, as a matter of fact, the reason that they have so many dysfunctional relationships is because they make sex or sexual attraction their primary focus when it comes to choosing a potential partner. So stymie with that. Black women have an issue with sex and sexual attraction in the first place. So they're not going to be able to hold true to that sex strike or sex boycott. So again, this is just another academic trying to push an agenda and being a shill for the Democratic Party to try to make black men fall in line and get back onto the Democratic plantation. It's not going to work. Black men have become astute. We know that we have to come up with our own agenda, push our own economics, and build for ourselves. And we have to have our own party going forward. I believe that having our own party is probably something at the end of us getting our own black economic nation going here. So once we have our own black economic force in place, then we can start doing the other things that other communities have in place to participate in the system of capitalism. Because that's all this political stuff is. It's just nothing more than an extension of the arm of capitalism. That's all I have tonight, man. Come up with your own agendas. The feminist supremacists, man, they're coming for you. If you have your own train of thought, they will be coming for you. So stay on your square, push forward, be one. That's all I got tonight, man. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.